Good evening to all of my friends. Welcome. Welcome to this episode of Character Choices. We're back. We're back fast and furious. We've talked about this a couple of times trying to fit this stuff in, but it's kind of fun. Fun to see, once again, all of my player characters who happen to also be my blood to some degree or other. I mean, not my blood, but kind of my blood, like, in any ways. The word blood is a weird word when you say it too often and too close together, but we're here and we're excited to continue rolling dice, making choices, all in pursuit of the greatest story ever rolled. And the story's really picking up here over the last little while. I think we're just a few episodes away from a bit of a finale for this particular arc. And it's interesting. I was thinking about it. We put in about 10 episodes before our big break. And it took us a while, maybe like a whole year or something. I don't know, like 6 or 7 months. We've put this will be the 5th episode since we've been back, all within the last month or two, month and a half or something. So it's been an interesting experience to have this kind of quick, kind of concentrated role-playing momentum happening, and I look forward to kind of pursuing that, kind of pushing that all the way through to the end. So so I had fun the other day when I guess I'll just throw out there again, if anybody's joining us here or watching this after the fact, feel free to get caught up on other episodes that are posted on our YouTube channel. And even though we may not be pursuing this to really push this out to the world, there's a shot I might get the website kind of finished and just set up just for some basic info to live about some of these characters, since we put some work into that. And we'll try to drop some information if that's the case for anyone that has happened to become interested in these players and their characters. So in any case, that stuff is there. Feel free to peruse, enjoy. And I was about to say I enjoyed, I think it was not last week, but the week before, or not last episode, but the episode before, because we're not really doing a weekly. When you all had you all were the ones to kind of do a bit of the recap on what happened last time. I think it's good just for you guys to get a chance to kind of get into your mind, for me to get a chance to see what kind of resonated with you and stuck out to you in terms of what you remember from last time. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. I know I didn't give you guys a heads up, but to kind of talk about where we left off last time, what happened, what you remember.
We died.
It was like
were kidnapped by a creature.
There was we were saving some people, and then they ran down.
Here comes that's really vague.
Here comes the vague thing with the things and the people.
And we ran down the scary tunnel. That's specific. We ran down the tunnel. We entered, and then bad guys and whatever Talaru people were trying to fight each other, but then tried to fight us. But then the scary one came in, and he was then he took my wand and he broke it, and it was really devastating. And then, but then Wicket still without her wand did a magic thing with her hand and stuff. And then there was him was fighting some people, and then Bitsy and Girly were trying to also help fight the one bad guy. And then they backed up, but then Azrael saved the little kid and ran out, and then she went to go get Adam, but it was too late. When she got Adam, he but broke down, and because meanwhile we all got hit to 0 hit points. And then after
death.
Oh, and two guys from the fancy people came, they came and helped.
I'd call it gourmet fancy.
And then Azrael got there, we were all gone. Oh, and Caspian's dead.
Well, I mean, it's funny because last episode we kind of ended and we were sitting talking for a minute afterwards, and someone was like, wait a minute, Caspian was in a cage. Where's Caspian? And we kind of had an ugly kind of moment of realization. So we'll get into that, I guess, a little more here at the beginning of this next episode.
But that was the reveal at the beginning.
I didn't know David was gonna do something. I thought he was gonna do it in the recap.
Not a big deal. Not a big
They
deal.
wanted to make
Not a
people
big
cry.
Happy wasn't a big deal.
But is there anything else
I
anyone
think that was
needs?
actually a pretty good recap, Beth. Good
Yeah,
job.
thanks.
Solid 10 out of 10.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
recap, Beth's recap.
I guess the only
The children
detail-
are safe. Adam is down. All of them are dead or gone.
Yeah, their bodies weren't there. They disappeared. So-
Enastriel, Igrame or Igramain?
Igrame.
Igrame and Levin
Mm-hmm.
are left clueless in the backdrop of all of this.
Although,
And when we break it down like that, it doesn't sound so horrifying.
Levin and Igrame do bring with them
Oh, that's
further information as they are kind of perusing this
Oh, the Oath Taker.
empty tomb. They let you know that they suffered some casualties. It was a pretty significant attack on Baronhold, and in the aftermath, they realized that the Oath Taker had been taken. We kind of ended with the sound of Levin kind of moaning in despair a little bit.
First sound we've ever heard from him.
Right. And so the story goes. Nazriel, in tears, on her knees, on the floor of a tomb, the stone beneath your feet, this kind of familiar space that we set up last time, worn and aged and fitted stone underground, of 2 stone coffins, but the scars of many more that had been ripped up and removed to make space, kind of speaking to the disdain that those who had been using the space had for the people of this place, or at least for their dead. Perhaps that disdain spread in general to others, because the bodies of the Talaru, the 2 Talaru that you fought, one of which had been crowned with madness during the fight, the other one casting spells, both lay on the floor here in the aftermath, their bodies still having been left behind by whatever creature it was that you bumped into. Based on what he had said, I think it was clear that this more than likely was the brother that Cole had been talking about, or something of him, some version, some form, what's left. You really have no idea, other than what you saw, which was some sort of an odd amalgam of draconicness and humanity, and power. And you're there on the floor, dirty and tattered a bit from having been hit pretty hard a couple of times, even before you were able to remove Truin and run him for safety. I think in the desperation of the overwhelm that you realized you were experiencing in terms of power from this new foe, running for a source of power, your own power, a source of strength and defense and power in the form of Adam, looking to bring reinforcements, only to have kind of the horrible realization that it was all in vain, too late. You see all of this, the smoke, kind of the cloud of sort of vapor, of poisonous sort of cloying vapor that had filled the space is basically has moved on, just leaving a kind of lingering sulfuric smell in the air. And it's just now the light of flickering torches playing against the texture and color of your own dark vision here in this space. And you see some of the remnants of what was there, the pile of sort of a small sort of deposit of valuable things in one corner, a couple of chests and a barrel left behind. Whoever was here did not see fit to take that with them in the time between you leaving and returning. Several crates that look kind of workaday, shipping style crates, and then just stone and roots and lichen and dirt in this place. So In any case, you find yourself in this space. It is uniquely you, and I would like to turn it over to you. What would you like to do?
Oh, my friends are gone. I'm crying on the floor. I'm gonna run kind of a sleeved hand over my face to clear away whatever tears and mess there is. I'm going to get shakily to my feet and walk over to the Talaria that had been holding Caspian.
Right.
And search.
You see the form of the Talaria as you get close. Its kind of draconic features with its sort of canine accents. You see the teeth having been inserted in kind of decorative patterns and fashions. And you see the things that it was holding, a variety of cages and so on, roughly made and kind of fit together. Maybe as a sense of sort of a matter of engineering, but also maybe out of a sense of kind of camouflage because of the way that they were used. And you do see the one cage that you remember, a thing of thin branches and cordage made of plant fiber, having fallen onto its side and rolled to a stop against the stone wall nearby. And inside you see the still form of a kind of brown and gray marten with its forepaws and its short bushy tail. And and its kind of small triangular ears. Its form still just kind of laying on the side of the cage. Nearby.
I'm gonna clench my fist, but go to investigate and see if Caspian is okay. And as Anastriel does this, Britt is gonna try and not to cry on live.
Don't be a big baby. I mean, it's okay. We're all emotional here. Don't be a big baby. Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm not sure what just went down. I got a whole bunch of notifications in my chat. I'm not sure exactly how this works. It says you are today's chosen one. Geeks Codex raid. I think we just got raided by some other channel. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this happening sometimes on Twitch, and I'm not sure exactly how it goes down or whether to know what exactly the situation is here. But I think we had a few people pop into our chat here along with somebody, and I think I saw a follow from one of them. So for those that are here that just showed up, how exciting. It's so good to see you all. I'm getting the confirmation from Hopeless Marteus. Hopefully I'm saying that right. A raid from another D&D stream has just showed up in our Twitch channel, so which is so funny.
What does that mean?
They say showing the love of D&D by kind of bringing themselves into another stream. So welcome to you all.
You guys
here.
are so cute. Thank you
so much for this. Hopefully you aren't too lost if you kind of hang out here with us. But we invite you. We welcome you to join us. We're just kind of having fun together here. Some family members playing D&D, putting it up on the internet just for those that might enjoy it. And feel free to kind of head over to YouTube if you ever feel like getting caught up. We're just I'm a dad of a couple of daughters here. Abby up top on the left and Maddie on the bottom left are my twin daughters, and then my two nieces on either side of me, Beth and Britt, and then my little sister, who's not so little anymore. She's all grown up. So Rachel on the bottom right. And we're just family, kind of hanging out, playing together, having a good time. Actually, kind of learning D&D as we go. So be gentle as we work through the mechanics of this incredible game that we stumbled into. So But we're going to go ahead and keep rolling with it here. But thanks so much for being here with us today, and we look forward to continuing to get to know you here over the next little while. But to return, you do find, you find the body of Bitsy's best friend, dare we say? I mean, you guys, we just acknowledged here recently that you all have not known each other for very long, even though it feels like a while because you've been through so much together. Bitsy, though, Bitsy has known Caspian for much of her life. He was relatively old for a Martin, but all of the time that they had spent together, I mean, she's not here. She doesn't know yet what's happened. But yeah, Bitsy's BFF lies in the cage, motionless and apparently lifeless, as far as you can tell. What would you like to do in Azrael?
Really not looking forward to breaking this to Bitsy. I'm going to open the cage.
Okay.
Pull him out gently.
You spend just a moment kind of looking at the kind of mechanisms involved, and it's relatively simple. Looks like it is a trap that had sprung and pulled shut, and you're able to pull it back enough to gently pull the form of Caspian free. Enough also of interacting with him to really get a solid sense. There's no breath, no heartbeat, no life.
I knew this. David's goal is to make me cry on live. So
I'm not gonna lie.
Cradle him.
It's one of my goals. One of my many goals.
Yes, anyways. One of your many goals. I cradle him in my hand. Igrame.
Igrame turns. You see him with his long, sort of dreaded hair. Hand on his hand axes. He's lit I don't know if you recall the last time that you bumped into him. He has hanging around his neck on kind of a simple sort of rough hempen necklace kind of cord, a long sort of spiral bit of what looks like horn. And once before he had the end of it lit, and it burned in a way very slowly and letting off kind of a stream of an aroma that was like incense almost. And he's lit it again here after the fact of being down here in this space. He's taken the time to stop and light it, and as he moves forward, you see the bit of an ember on the end of it kind of curling with just a wisp of smoke as he approaches with his hand on his hand axe. Are you okay, Anasriel?
I'm fine. I'm gonna hold Caspian out to him. Please carefully take my small friend.
He nods and extends his hands to you. He takes the still form of the Martin, which he has seen before in your presence. It is a shame. It is a shame. I will care for it as long as I am able.
Thank you. I'm going to turn and investigate the bodies.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an investigation roll for me.
I have a 15.
Awesome. With a 15, you're able to find much the same as what you found on the Talaro bodies before from the time outside of the chancel of passage. And you find the same sort of, it's this oddness, these creatures that are kind of small, draconic, they seem almost ferocious and animalistic in a way, and yet they are dressed very finely. Their clothing is made well of good material. Their hands are adorned with many small golden rings, some of which are set with small gems, necklaces around their necks, and they have the same kind of it feels almost like tribal sort of modifications that have been done to themselves, where teeth Small sort of canine teeth have been kind of inserted beneath the skin in a way. The two different bodies are different. The one that had the shield and the sword and was much more of a fighter, the one that you crowned with the crown of madness, has these in a line up its neck and across its jaw, whereas the other one that was casting more of the spells has them up around the eyes and up along the scalp, the line of the scalp, and as it pulls back. And you see much the same. You do recover some kind of paltry amount of coin. We'll say, for the sake of this, we'll just say that it's maybe 20 gold pieces or so worth of coinage. And then again, are able to, if you want to, remove rings from each of the fingers. Beyond that, with a 15, with a 15, probably not a whole lot else to give you any more information about these than you knew before, in terms of what the Talaru are and what you've learned through Pim and her experience with Enishtala and them. So, but you're free to take some of that if you wish, and I can get you kind of a tally in terms of worth of some of that stuff later.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and take that. I'm going to stand and still ignore my current companions, and I'm going to investigate the room for anything that was left behind, for any clues as to what happened or where they went, anything that I can just pick up on through investigation.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Go ahead and, roll me another investigation check for the room.
I have a 17.
Awesome. Yeah, you investigate the room, and mostly you notice once again all of the signs that this had once been a tomb, what appears to be probably a family tomb of some kind, and that it has been modified and sort of much of it uprooted and pushed and moved around to make space, to be used more of as a storage space up until just very recently. There isn't much to see around the edges, nothing cryptic or hidden or interesting. The main feature here is that opening that has been kind of wildly and roughly carved out of the back wall of this tomb. The fitted stones of the tomb having been removed to reveal bare earth, and then just a tunnel, roughly maybe 7 or 8 feet high and 3 or 4 feet wide. It's nothing too massive. Has been tunneled, and it's roughly hewn, and yet it's done very cleanly. Excuse me, if that makes sense. And the interior, the sort of mouth of the tunnel, has been reinforced with timber, obviously pulled from the woods outside above, and has reinforced the opening of this. And you can see at intervals through the tunnel the 60 or so feet that you can see in with your dark vision, that more kind of wooden frames have been built to just kind of... The tunneling seems to have been done quickly but expertly, if that makes sense. Moving off into the distance, you do see just the hint of kind of green vapor still sort of shifting along the floor of this tunnel as it moves away from you into the distance. But you're able to only see about that 60 feet or so before it just trails into darkness and beyond. I think at this point, as you stand here, there is the pile of wealth also beside you. If you took a moment to sort of peek through that pile, there are 2 or 3 chests, one of which has coin and gems and things in it. One of which has what looks to be like silver cutlery and like candlesticks and things, the sort of thing that Jean Valjean pilfered from the priest in Les Mis. And so you can see that in another chest. And then there's a chest that seems to have like fine fabrics inside of it, like bolts of silk, fine threads and buttons and eyelets with hooks and things that would be used to create kind of fine clothing. And so you do see that there. Just kind of glancing, you think there might be upwards of 12 or 1,300 gold pieces worth inside of just the coinage kind of chest alone. And you'd have to probably take the rest of it to someone who knows better than you about the value of things in order to see what else the rest of it is worth. But after you pass this and you begin to examine the opening to the tunnel itself, you come up against Igrame, who has just kind of knelt down and bowed his head. Not Igrame, Levin, who has knelt down and sort of bowed his head and seems to almost be in a meditative pose at the front of the tunnel, and he is just lost in his own thing. You do see that the moonstone eye inside of his head is flickering with this sort of milky green light, as his other eye is closed and this eye is sort of open and just flickering. Igrame steps up to you, though. He puts a hand on your arm. I know that your first instinct would be to follow them in haphazardly, but it would be reckless. From what you have said, there are powers there that we know not of, and what we do know is more powerful than what we have here. It would behoove us to wait for reinforcements, at least for a short amount of time, before we try to follow them in. Am I going to have to tie you up to keep you from going? He kind of half smiles as he says this, but he's also at the ready.
Being serious? Yep. I've always been told that my heart has always warred with my head. But no, you won't have to tie me up this time. And I'm going to try and return kind of a half smile, but it's really going to come out as more of a grimace. Out of curiosity, David, do I find Wicket's wand?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. You do find her wand. It is a bent and broken kind of boomerang now of metal and wire and bits and bobs of her tinkering. You can see that the moonstone slivers that were set into it, several are missing, and many others are cracked and across their face. It looks cold and dim and lifeless and broken, but you do find it.
I'm going to kneel next to Levin. I almost said Lev, but that's the person we're chasing.
Right.
I'm going to kneel next to Levin. I am sorry for your loss, my friend. Perhaps you can fill me in on what happened?
He looks up from his sort of meditative pose and kind of turns. His good eye opens along with his moonstone eye, and he just peers at you. He shakes his head, and he just puts a hand to his mouth and kind of takes it away, to indicate that he would if he could, if that makes sense, and kind of looks past you up at Igrame. I will do my best to fill you in on the details. Perhaps we should retreat, check on the children, and send for more help to explain what has happened here. And we will try to do it as fast as we can. Be prepared and ready to make a solid and tactical entry into this place after your friends.
Very well. I'm going to reach out my arms as I stand up for Caspian.
Okay. Then he'll pass Caspian off gently to you.
There's nothing else to be done here than let us leave.
Very well. And he turns to sort of lead the way. He does help.
I'd like...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your sentence, because mine takes place kind of as we leave.
He does kind of kneel down and just kind of speak softly to Levin, seemingly to urge him to join you. And Levin shakes his head once again and kind of indicates for you all to leave, and he bows his head again as if he's going to just stay here. Igrame kind of stands up and says,
you are aware of how dangerous it is to stay. I'm going to look at Levin.
Igrame kind of looks back at you I believe he is aware of the risk, and there is little I can do to change his mind. I will come back and check on him shortly.
Very well. I would like to head towards Adam.
Okay, you retreat.
We left kind of.
You retreat out of the tomb, through the tunnel, up the stairs, out of the small sort of mausoleum-esque kind of entrance to this place, and out of the building that has been kind of ramshackle built around it. Into the open space, you see the tents and the fire and the signs of the camp that had been placed here in this small clearing of the Wyverwood. And you see the form of Adam still. You mistake it almost at first for just a pile of stone. But as you approach, you know that it's actually a construct of stone and metal, who still lays as lifeless as he was before on the ground, unmoving. None of the sort of familiar, sort of almost arcane, almost digital-ish sort of nuances of his kind of design and detailing are gone. They flickered out, and just cold stone and metal in a heap here. You do see the children kind of have moved near him out of a sense of comfort, even though it's obvious that he isn't in a position to help them. They've kind of moved closer, and you see Jen actively kind of tending and kind of tussling and kind of trying to get some life into these children. You can see that she's made the youngest of them, Paul. He's laughing a little bit as you approach. She turns with a smile on her face, but you can see that it's just she's put a smile on for Paul, but it's she's at work right now, just taking care of these children. Did you find your friends? She says.
I'm gonna shake my head. You've been very brave, children. And I'm gonna kind of look at Igrame, lost for words for probably the first time in my life. Is anyone seriously hurt?
He looks down at the ground and hesitates. Looks back up. Many were hurt. We lost many. Most of those whom we lost were fighting men and women. But there were a few other casualties, villages in the place. In Barenhold, too many, he says, too many were lost. The Baron is safe, and his entourage, the leaders of the place, are safe. But many of the Hallow Guard fell in the attack. And you know, Oathtaker Lucent was taken. It would appear that those who entered into the town had laid their trap well. They had tunneled in beneath Barenhold and had managed to trigger a trap of some sort that captured Oathtaker Lucent in such a way. I do not know what technology they must have had at their disposal, but it seemed to have mitigated his magical power, which was great.
I'm going to cut him off. So people are hurt, and the attack succeeded. I'm going to turn to the children. Are any of you seriously hurt?
Jen kind of stands up straight and looks at you. We're fine. I'd like to try and find Cole. He was hurt pretty bad from what last I saw. They put their hands on him. They beat him up real bad. And they did less to us, but more to him. Did you find Cole?
Yes, we did. We last left him helping in the city. I don't know what happened to him after that.
Is he okay?
He was when I left him.
Good.
Jen, my friend, I need you to do me one more favor. And I'm gonna now hand her Caspian.
Okay.
He is very important. I need you to watch over him.
He looks down, taken aback a little bit at the form. She remembers this form having been at the elbow or on the shoulder of the gnome that she was so intrigued by in town before. She nods. I give you my solemn promise that I'll take care of him. This I swear. And you can see she drops a hand. You can see that while you were gone, she seems to have rummaged around and actually taken a sword belt off of one of the fallen the men that you beat earlier here in the camp and tied up. And she strapped the belt around and has kind of a short sword hanging from her waist. And she puts a hand on it and then a hand to her chest, and then she reaches out and accepts Caspian and goes about kind of wrapping and preparing. And she gives him a sort of place of honor inside of a leather satchel that she has there that she's able to find. Closes it up and buttons it down and says,
"Are the thugs awake or are they still unconscious?"
They appear to still be unconscious where you left them and tied up.
Okay. Thank you. Bitsy will be pleased. I'm gonna walk to Adam. Igrame, help me roll him over.
Igrame looks down and back up at you skeptically.
Are you gonna make me ask twice after the day I've had?
You're about to make me look like a fool, I think. Let us try. And he'll get down and do his best to move this kind of ton of stone and metal. You guys can both make strength checks for me, just to see how well this works for you. I may have to take just a 2-second break here. I think Susan came in needing something from me. It might be the light that's in here because she's got to do something. So I might have to take a quick break here, but let me see how Igrame does.
I always forget I have no strength modifier. I have a 17.
That's hilarious. Better than he did. You guys give it a solid push. I think without having rolled really well, you find it's almost impossible to move such a mass of stone and metal. It shifts a little bit, but not enough really to get it kind of moved around. You would need more hands, some leverage, some ropes and leverage. You'd probably have to come up with a better way. So, anyway, give me 1 second. And also, I'm just going to say goodnight to our friends here. Hopeless Marteus is off to bed now. They're all mainly UK based. They're saying. Getting pretty late, so thank you so much to Geeks Codex Raid, the Geeks Codex, and those of you that are here with them. We really appreciate you being here for just a second, and hope to see you all again in the future. Yeah, we'll go ahead and keep doing this thing we love here. In spirit, we'll be here in spirit doing this in your honor here for the rest of the evening. So. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to an intermission screen here just for a moment. Get my wife helped because I love her with all my heart, and I'll be right back and we'll pick this right up. So. And we're back after that bit of a spontaneous break. My wife is nice enough often to let me use her light, which is a little bit better than what I have available. But she's also doing something tonight, so wanted to get it back over to her. Awesome. Okay, we're back in it. So you tried to push this lump of stone and metal off and onto its back, maybe. It's just going to be real hard to do without some more significant help. So
I'm gonna half sigh, half growl in frustration and run a hand through my hair and turn to him. It is incredibly important that we bring him back with us.
It is going to be nearly impossible to bring him back. But
then I won't leave, and I'm gonna sit down.
Kind of looks down at you. He nods, actually. That is probably not a bad idea. We are going to have to enter the underground through this entrance that you have found. We will try to get reinforcements here to us, but perhaps while we wait, we can just remain here. He kind of points around. It looks like it is prepared for those of us to take just a short rest at least before leaving. And no offense, and he winks at you. You look the worse for wear. You might do with just a bit of a rest to get your strength back and make sure that you have the capacity to be at your best when we go face whatever is down there. Those faces you're making, my twins. Perhaps there is a place where you can hold up while I wish I had more help here for you. I'm going to have to run. I do not know if I can. I have no way of sending a message, really. Jen kind of looks up at this point. I can take a message back for you, he says. We know these woods fairly well. We saw the way in. I think we can find the way out. What you need me to send? I need to get these kids back to their parents anyway, he says. He looks down and kind of half smiles. Very well. If you can find the Baron and let him know what we have found and that we are going to need a little more muscle to go in after this group. And he begins to kind of share information with Jen. She looks very important. She looks like she feels very important as she stands there and receives all of this information, nodding. He checks with her, he verifies some things, she repeats some things back until he's confident that she is going to be clear on the information that she's sharing, and so on and so forth. Igrame turns to you. Is there anyone else you would like to have contacted, or anything else you feel the need to send before Jen here takes our message?
I'd like to get word to Elkia that we are and I'm gonna kind of bury my face in my hands for a second. Not safe, but just let him know what happened.
Very well. And he turns and he relays this to Jen. And she's like, yeah, I know the bloke. I'll make sure your message gets right to him. And she turns and begins to kind of, kind of stir the children. Okay, kids, time for us to go. I'm going to need you to stand up and be strong. Be as knightly as you've ever been, she says. We're going to fight our way back through this forest if we need to and get this message to those in Baronhold. And we're going to do it with panache, she said. And they all kind of stand up and straighten themselves. And she passes out some daggers that she clearly took from the people that you beat as well. Gets them kind of tucked into belts and things. There you go, properly armed now, she says. And she carefully puts the satchel over. She looks at you. You still want me to keep him with me?
No, give him here.
She takes
I don't think Bitsy would forgive me if I sent him somewhere else.
Takes the satchel off and kind of hands it to you.
Be safe.
And you. I wish you the best of luck. Go get back our favorite gnomes, yeah?
Yeah.
She turns and scampers off into the woods with the people. Ikrame looks at you. Do your best to rest. I'll go check on Levin, and we'll just keep an eye, hold the fort down until reinforcements arrive.
I'll warn you, if you don't keep a close enough eye on me, I'm going to look over at the thugs that are tied up. I can't promise it'll happen to them. But I'll try and rest for now.
Very well. I leave them in your hands. Whether you trust yourself, I trust you. And you,
I'm going to half laugh. You like to live on the edge.
Well, that's one new thing that you know about me. We'll have to get to know each other better later, he says. And smiles and then kind of turns and heads off in the direction of the little kind of tomb thing. It's funny, I see the fingers flying on the chat right now. You guys are so predictable. Anyways, okay, and he leaves you be. What do you do here with the time that you have?
Yeah.
From a mechanical point of view, in terms of spell slots, hit points, things like that, those would be recovered after a long rest. Technically, for an elf, it only takes 4 hours versus the normal sort of 8 hours, because you only have to transfer 4 hours to get your rest done, which is very handy right now.
And you said the other guys are still unconscious, right?
Yeah, at the moment they're still unconscious and tied up. You guys beat them up real good.
They're like, either unconscious.
Yeah.
Which case, I think I'm literally just gonna rest. I'm gonna kind of lean back, spreading my arms over Adam, both protectively and like he's the back of a sofa, and kind of just exhaustedly drape myself over him.
Okay.
And I'm probably gonna just fall into a fitful trance-like sleep.
Okay.
For the rest that I can get.
Sounds good. You do just that. You settle in and you slip into. You're very familiar with this process, as familiar as any other kind of non-elf would be with falling asleep. It maybe takes you just a little bit longer to slide into that space where you kind of feel the click and you know that you're technically trancing because of everything that has happened. And again, in the trance, you're able to kind of moderate and sort of choose what you really zero in on, kind of focus on. But this time, the trance almost runs away with you. Almost as soon as you sort of click into kind of a full trance, immediately you begin. Strife becomes the theme of everything, if that makes sense. You begin to relive fights that you've had, several of the fights that you've had with your friends so far, the fights previously with the Talaru, with the bandits outside of Baron Hold, with Mythic and others inside of the Chancel of Passage. You roll back even farther to fights from your previous life, battles with Clan Arkul and smaller tussles, tight, more sort of intimate and furious kind of back alley brawls that you've engaged in the past. It's all strife and contention and fighting. And you continue in this vein until the scene sort of switches to your most recent fight inside of the tomb. And you're replaying and kind of re-going through the experience of that, feeling the desperation and the of trying to save the boy, Truin, someone so fragile and so young, from being hurt by what has been happening. You see yourself once again picking up the boy, putting him across you. You hear the sound of him gasping and kind of letting a tight scream go as he gets hit by fire from one of the Talaru behind you. You remember the feeling of sort of being overwhelmed and desperate as you realize that you need more help than you have here, and you need to get this boy out of here, and you run. And you run, and you run, and you run. And as you're running, you feel your feet leave the floor. And they rise up off, and you begin to kind of move futilely through space, and then you feel yourself pulled. You fall. But instead of falling forward or downward, you fall upward until you slam into a ceiling of dirt and debris, and you're pulled up into the dirt, pulled into it, and it begins to kind of wrap around you. It begins to kind of clutch at you. You begin to feel the pressure of it on your lungs. You begin to struggle with your breath and splutter, and it rips at you and pulls at you. It feels like it's scraping the flesh from you until it begins to kind of ease, and you feel like you're still trapped, and you begin to try and claw and climb your way out of the soil. And you continue this until you finally break free, face first, out of the earth and into air. And you're still stuck in the ground and are trying to sort of pull yourself free. I'm going to have you roll a strength check for me, just a d20 plus your strength modifier, if you have one.
I rolled a 2, so I'm pretty panicked, I guess.
You are panicked, and you pull, and the earth just will not seem to let you go. You make headway, but it's so agonizing and minute and slow as you push and you push and you push. And it takes what feels like an hour or more to just pull yourself free of the dirt, of the soil. And you break free, and you crawl out. You spit earth and soil from your mouth and pull it from you. And you look up and around you, and you find that you are in a fairly familiar place. It's a place you've been several times before, and where you have spent just a little bit of time. You find yourself in what appears to be the Marser forest. It's the forest where you left your tree, or your tree left you. Maybe both. You see the familiar forms of the withered trees around you, trees that look like they are being sort of desiccated, the almost moisture drawn out of them. Their trunks and their branches look like severely aged limbs, human limbs almost, with much of what's underneath the skin gone. You see that they're kind of wrinkled and pulled together, and you see the familiar sort of lack of any new growth whatsoever in the forest around you. It is a forest that is dead and dying, and the only life that you see is in the form of your tree, which rises up nearby, and you see it in its spring glory, which is odd compared to the contrast of the backdrop against which it is rising. A massive oak tree with roiling, kind of twisting roots, a very thick bole, and a canopy that just rises and pushes out through the trees around it. Although the trees around it are fairly large, so it rises up kind of in concert with them, but is the new green of sort of spring leaf growth, and you can see the remnant of buds on the tree that had turned into leaves, and the acorns beginning to grow, and a breeze rustling through the trees. It is the only life that you see around you, and you can feel it, almost sense its presence nearby as you find yourself on the ground, kind of coated and tarnished in soil and dirt. Yeah, what would you like to do at this point?
Of course it's you. You've only ever brought me pain. I'm gonna turn my back to it and fold my arms.
You hear a shiver of leaves, and maybe a few kind of small junior acorns falling off and kind of tip-tapping along the ground where they fall. And eventually, after a moment, you feel a slight sort of pressure on one shoulder, and you turn. You can see that a very small, sort of young oak leaf has fluttered down and landed on your shoulder, and rests there. And you can see that where it lands, the soil that's encrusting you begins to flake and fall. And slowly across your body, the soil begins to sort of sort of peel and molt almost from your body and just drop and fall away, leaving you clean and normal in the aftermath.
I'm gonna turn back to the tree. Too late for that. This is no longer the season of healing. And I'm gonna kind of drop to my knees. I don't know what to do. I just feel angry.
You hear the shiver once again of the leaves as it feels the sound of another breeze kind of blowing and rustling through the boughs of the trees. More leaves fall. Bit of a creaking of the bough, or the trunk of the tree, the wood of the tree, as it shifts ever so slightly in a breeze. Yeah, the leaf that fell on your shoulder is still there, and you can see that it has begun to darken ever so slightly from the light green of spring, new growth, to a deeper, darker, glossier forest green on your shoulder. And at this point, you hear another voice, a new voice appear nearby. Are you sure this is what you want? And as you raise your head and turn, you see that seated on one of the roots of the cadence tree, your tree, you see the form of a man seated there, a familiar man, dressed finely, tall, thin, striking in appearance. You see the form of a lute tucked behind his back, with the neck of it sticking out from behind his neck. I can feel what you're trying to do, what your friend here is about to cause to happen. It's probably necessary, I understand. You can see now that this is Jonas of Avram Torah, seated on the roots here. You're a complicated person, he says.
Jonas? And I'm gonna look from him to my tree questioningly. How are you here?
Well, are either of us really here?
I'm being serious.
Fine. Bit of a buzzkill. I guess the change is upon us, he says.
I'm gonna rise to my feet as if I'm gonna go strike him, and then I'm gonna kind of stop where I stand, fist kind of half in the air.
Okay. Calm down. I'm just here to say that I'll miss you. But I'm willing to wait. I'll be here when you get back, is all I'm saying. Because we have work to do, you and me. Work that we've just barely begun. And it's fine. It's fine. But I'll be here. And I just wanted to make sure that you remember me. I want my face to be the last face that you see. If that makes
sense. That's arrogant. I'm gonna kind of roll my head.
And he kind of moves in a little closer and winks at you. Could be a worse face, let's be honest.
I'm gonna lean in just as conspiratorially. I've seen better.
Oh, you've wounded me. You've wounded me to my heart. I'm glad that you're gonna go away for a while. We need space, I think, you and me.
Your feelings are so easily hurt. I'm gonna say very sarcastically.
Well, most of you might be stoned these days, but my heart is still a heart of flesh. In any case, I'm here because I feel what's happening, and this old tree and me, we've been around the block a couple times. Can't say more. I can't say more. I know you're going to ask, and I'll not be able to answer. But I've got a few trees that are good friends of mine. And this tree and I, we've got an on-again, off-again relationship, and I can feel what's happening, and I just wanted to be here to usher you across. And maybe, because I know that you're going to take up with other patrons and other things and so on and so forth, but I wanted to send a little something with you. You're about to be in some kind of trouble. I can feel it in over your head. It's everywhere, all through the forest, everywhere. It's just reeking with what's going on, with the pent-up, built-up energy in these places that's getting ready to come to a head and to explode. Excuse me. And I just wanted to let you know that I'll send just a little bit of something with you. And he reaches down and sort of taps the pin that he gave you, form of the karimba, I think it's called.
I think so.
With a tree growing out of it. And it shimmers with a little bit of kind of golden green energy. And lasts there for just a second. And he pulls his finger away from it. And as he pulls his finger away a little mote of light kind of comes from him. And he reaches up and he touches your ear lobe and pulls away. There's just a little bit of kind of an icy hot kind of sensation. And as you reach up afterwards, you can feel that an earring is there now in your earlobe. This will allow you to access just a little bit of what you and I had begun to do together. And will allow you to bless your friends in the fight ahead if you do indeed find them and they are capable of fighting by your side. He'll be able to bless them with perhaps just a motive potential. And this to remind you when you're doing whatever it is you're about to do in whatever style you're about to do it, with whomever as your inspiration. Just remember that there's a place for you here again when you're ready to take up this mantle once more.
I'm gonna kind of drop all facade from my face. Thank you. I can assure you I have never said that more sincerely to anyone in my life.
There we go. I am rubbing off on you after all. Come on, it's the face, right?
I've seen better.
You know, if you say that 3 times, it makes it true. So let's end this conversation here, so we don't run the risk of it.
Yes, I can't have you dissipating my anger.
You have a right to be angry.
As he says that, my anger is gonna kind of flare in me, almost like it's justified now that someone is giving me permission to be angry.
And as it does, you can feel heat building inside of your gut and just beginning to spread like a bonfire inside of you. His eyes widen and he turns to the tree and he kind of slaps the trunk of the tree. Well, old girl, take care of her. And perhaps you can be a bit more help than you have been, he says. And he turns back to you. You know where to find me? Well, you don't, but I'll reach out when the time is right.
Very well. Thank you for your help. And for your friendship.
You're very welcome. Sweet trance, as the saying goes. And he kind of fades away. And the tree kind of fades away. And the heat just builds and builds. And you slide back into kind of a trance that is void. Just space around you. No more strife, no more fighting, no more images, just floating for now. And I'm gonna peel back out in an odd way because I think it feels right to Igrame. And I am going to fast forward about 4 hours that you were trancing. The sun is just beginning to rise, the sound of the birds beginning to sing in the canopy above with the morning on the way. And he came up and found you trancing, and he went and kind of curled up and sort of rolled up in a bedroll for a moment, keeping one eye kind of open to the best of his ability. Levin, he had managed to convince Levin to come back up with him, and they had taken turns with a bit of a watch while you tranced. As the birds begin to sing, he stands up and says, well, it's going to be about that time. Sorry, that's Jonas. It's about that time, he says. And he turns, looks at you, he sees you in your trance. I'm going to go wake up in Asriel. The others should be here soon, hopefully. Prepare yourself, he says to Levin. And he turns and begins to kind of move in your direction. As he does, he sees you there in your sort of, I don't know, I think of it as a bit of a flirty sort of dress that you wear with your beret and your sort of coral-colored hair and your light green skin. He sees you sort of breathing, and he stops as he approaches, as something shifts, something changes. It begins in the skin first, which again is that sort of light green of early spring of new growth. And around the eyes, suddenly, the color shifts and pigment adjusts and changes from a light green color moving outward into a burnished bronze, almost shimmering bronze cast that spreads across your body. The hair begins to lengthen and deepen in color. The beret sort of shifts and folds into your hair and almost unravels and becomes threads that wind their way up into 2 long braids that come down across your shoulders as your hair deepens from a coral color into a fiery red. And continues to watch in amazement as the clothing that you wear shifts from the kind of short, almost sort of peasant girl dress that you wore to a pair of breeches that goes down to about mid-calf that is striped a red, orange, and yellow color. A vest that bears your arms and fits in a form-fitting way, and that leaves your arms free to move and maneuver. And as your skin continues to deepen into this kind of bronzed color, He sees golden jewelry begin to appear in the shape of leaves and fruit and vines, all made of a shimmering gold. As a necklace sort of appears around your neck. And he watches in awe as the lute that you had kind of leaned up against Adam next to you lights on fire and burns down. And as pieces of it begin to fall away, he can see the form of a sword with a curved blade and a gold wire wrapped hilt with motifs of blazing suns through the handle of it, and a deep red ruby shimmering in the pommel, leaning up against you, the blade continuing to flicker with fire. And he stands there with his mouth open as your eyes blink open and have gone from the sort of lovely color that they were before to just straight metallic gold from edge to edge. And you blink your eyes open, almost a light that comes out of them as you look up at him. And he looks down at you. What in the name of Ethlia? And he just kind of stands as you blink there for a moment. And Asriel.
I'm going to look at him and respond to my name. Igrame.
Is it you?
Of course. And I'm going to push myself up. You're just going to stand there and help a girl to her feet. I'm going to put my hand up.
He steps a little hesitantly in your direction and reaches out and grasps your hand, looking at it for a moment, and he smiles and kind of pulls you up onto your feet. That is you, I think. The same, but not the same.
I'm going to look at my hands. I see summer has arrived.
As you say this, there is a pinging noise. And it is followed by a loud rushing sound, and then the sound of a creaking. And the both of you turn, and you turn in the direction of the building, the ramshackle sort of hut that had been built in around the tomb. And you can see the walls of the hut rise up and begin to extend themselves, and they begin to curve and curl and then explode as roots appear and extend out and dive into the earth. And as it grows and thickens and draws itself together and pulls upward until a very large, very formative looking oak tree has now appeared in the place where the shack was, and has surrounded, with its trunk, has surrounded the opening of the tomb that you had discovered, which is sort of embedded within it at this point in time. The leaves of the tree are deep, glossy green of high summer. The acorns are heavy on the boughs, and it shifts in the morning air as the birds begin to sing. And you feel a thrum of deep, resonant, resilient, strong energy kind of pulsing outward from the tree in your direction. A sense of camaraderie that you haven't felt before, a sense of purpose, a sense of alliance comes from this tree in your direction. And Igrame gasps obviously beside you. Wow, well, he says.
I'm gonna look at him and then back at the cadence tree.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I'm gonna kind of look at it quizzically. My mother? It's my tree.
I would believe anything at this point. Hello, Mama, he says,
I'm gonna straight up snort next to him.
Bows
You
at the
can
tree.
just call it a tree.
Very well. As you kind of laugh and snort, you feel a bit of a searing pain on the back of your hand. As you look down, you see a mark appear. The mark takes the shape. It takes the shape of kind of a triad of acorns, but the acorns are skeletons of acorns. They are built in structure with what appear to be bones that form almost cage-like appearances across you. And the energy from the tree pulses again towards you, and with it comes an understanding that you have just been empowered more fully. And you intuitively know that you now have access to a couple of new spells that are of life, but also have taken on just a shade of the place that now sits at the heart of the cadence tree, the tomb. And there's a bit of that as well. And you feel that mark appear, and it doesn't feel surprising in the way that it comes, but something that makes you feel stronger. And in your current form, strong feels good.
Seems my anger is empowering. And I'm gonna smile at Igrame.
Well, I imagine then that we should, and right about this time you hear the falls of footsteps approach. And as you turn, you can see several figures emerge from the tree line behind on the path. Two of which are tall and very clearly elven, and but not the elves you expected or that you were used to seeing. One of them you know, and you know him as the stanchion commander of the River Gate, Sevik Lyodon, and you met him once before, giving him a bit of an accounting of the fight that you had outside of the walls of the city of Baronhold, or the outpost of Baronhold. He has sort of pale skin like everybody else, but his hair has just a hint more of blonde in it than the silver, the kind of platinum of many others. And it falls sort of down around. He's carrying a helmet with him. You see a large sword strapped to his waist, and that he is wearing armor, chainmail armor, as he comes in with the tabard of the Hallow Guard falling down across it as he enters. And beside him, you see another elven warrior that you've not seen before. It is the cooler toned elven sort of thing, much like Elkia, who you do know. The kind of bluish skin and the sort of platinum hair, but the hair is long and braided and pulled down over one side. And he follows in the shadow of Sevik. And they move towards you. And Sevik sees Igrame and hails him. "Hail, Igrame. We've come as quickly as we could," he says. "I've come to offer my service to you. I've been sent by the commander of the outpost, and we're here to help retrieve the Oath-Taker and hopefully whoever else might need help. We are sorry that we are so few, but so much has happened in the outpost. So many have fallen, and we must be prepared against another attack. We are struggling to close up the pits that have appeared and through which the assailants entered the outpost, and many have fallen, and our forces are needed there. But I have come. I have brought with me one of my finest warriors. This is Orelith Juelin." And he turns and kind of puts a hand out towards his companion, who bows formally at the waist to Igrame and to you. "I'm at your service," he says. with a hand on his weapons, also in chainmail, also with a tabard over him, and a very kind of rigid look to him. Don't forget me, you hear, and a small form steps out from behind the two larger forms, and you see the form of Poland, the armorer who helped you guys get weapons and things. Old Stab and Grab herself. As she steps out, strapped with some weapons and a variety of other things, but looking kind of loose and fit. And she steps forward. These guys might look tough. They don't even know tough, she says as she kind of steps forward, and she walks over. Good to see you, Grimet. I heard that there were others here. I met them the other day in the armory. Where are they? Grimet kind of turns and looks at you and then looks back down, and he says, several of them fell and were captured. One remains with us, and he turns and he points up at you. She turns and looks up at you with a bit of a quizzical eye. I'm pretty sure I would have known if I met this one. Who are you?
Enishtala. We did in fact meet the other day. I just look a bit different now.
What was the name of your group?
Way back.
Yeah, nobody else would be dumb enough to repeat that word in public. Okay.
As my young friend said, one day people will fear us.
I hope so. Weird things are happening. And Sevik steps forward. Strange things indeed are happening. I think that perhaps we might be able to make a dent in it with the strength of us here. He steps forward. Igramé kind of looks up and says, there is little time to waste. Should we go? Sevik nods. Ready to be in action. You can tell he's a man of action. And
before we do, I should fill you in on a fraction of what we may be facing.
Sounds good. And yeah, we'll say for the sake of brevity that you take time to kind of fill them in on everything that's gone down. Unless there's anything in particular you wanted to hold back.
Not that immediately comes to mind.
Okay. Then you fill them in on everything, and they all nod to you at the end. Say, very well. The sooner the better. I feel better now that we have such warriors as these. He points at the other two, and to make sure to make a point to point down at to kind of gesture to Poland as well. She kind of rolls her eyes, and he steps up next to you. Ladies first, she says, and she heads off in the direction of the tomb, kind of leading the way. And yeah, I think that is where we're going to take, I think, just a quick break before we move on to a next little section here. Thank you for y'all kind of chilling and being patient while we dealt with this unique situation of you all being completely potentially dead or unconscious somewhere else, and this time of Anazriel having to try and put some things together to come and help you out. So I totally forgot before we move to a break. Totally forgot. You all head in the direction of the tomb, and you see Poland kind of point at the door. She looks at the tree, shakes her head, points at the door. Through here, right? And Igrame kind of indicates, yeah. And she disappears through the door. Igrame follows her. You see Levin kind of get up and kind of meet you, kind of intercept with you. He kind of stays near you. And you hear the sound of the chainmail clinking behind you of these two paladins of the Hallowed Guard behind you as you move in that direction. And then you hear an odd sound, a kind of grinding, shifting sort of noise kind of happen. And you don't think much of it at first until you hear a bit of a Hakum Vey. And you turn around. You can see the form kind of shifting where he is and grinding. And he kind of shakes his head and kind of pushes himself up, kind of resting on his shield, and begins to try and kind of pull him up. You see the face thing kind of flickering on his faceplate. And he kind of blinks and looks down. He looks at you, and oddly enough, with your new form, Nazriel, where is the Arkham Vey?
She's been taken, Adam, but we're going to rescue her.
Lead the way. And he kind of shakes off and kind of begins to kind of follow with you. And we'll kind of pan out from there as all of you, with Adam in tow, head into the opening of the tomb, down the stairs, and towards the tunnel. And we'll go to a bit of a break. You guys take just a moment to grab a drink, grab a snack, go to the bathroom real quick, and we will roll back in and dive into this a little bit more as we go. Also, if anybody else happens to be here with us, we'll be back shortly. I appreciate anybody that's here watching with us, and we will see you all very shortly. And we're back. Okay, welcome back. Let's do this. Just before the break, we left off with our good friend Anasriel in an entirely new and very summerific form, entering through a tomb that is now encased within the cadence tree, and being followed by a bit of an entourage of relatively powerful individuals. In the form of Igrame, a couple of paladins of the Hallow Guard, a small quarterling who has a lot of grit, and we're a lot of unknown about her in terms of what she can accomplish. And also followed by Levin and a construct in the form of Adam of the Deep. And the camera pans out on away, and then moves forward, and then drops down. The camera drops down, does that like transition through the earth and like through like layers of stone and soil, and going down beneath the Tower of Orthanc here, and comes out in sort of cavernous underground space. It actually drops down into a small, relatively small cell. The floor and back wall and the side walls, well, at least one side wall, made entirely of just shaped stone, carved and kind of etched out stone. And the front facing wall and one of the side walls made of thick, strong iron bars. And we see a halfling, a middle-aged halfling man laying upon the ground. And Himiver, you come out of a deep nothingness suddenly. You feel a hand slap you across your face and kind of blink your eyes open. And a voice immediately appears. Wake up, wake up. I need to speak with you. And your eyes blink open, and you can see a face in front of you, leaning kind of down over you. It's a face that you've seen once before. Long, black, sleek, almost inky hair over pale, prismatic skin that seems to shimmer with like the colors of the prism. Kind of leering at you, fine, sort of elegant features. Except now there seems to be a hint of sort of emerald scaled kind of motifs kind of around it as this figure leers down at you. You see the face of the icon Enishtala that you met once in a dream. Stand up. We need to talk. And he kind of pulls out of your view as you take a moment to just kind of orient yourself here. Do you get up?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you get up to kind of a sitting position. You feel odd. A bit odd and sort of loosey-goosey, and it's almost hard to feel your extremities a bit at the moment as you kind of get up. The whole interior of the cell that you find yourself in is lit with an odd light, an odd sort of quivering, multicolored, chromatic sort of light. Very similar to the face of Enishtala, the skin kind of sheen tone that he seems to emanate. You look up and you see that there is a torch on the wall, but instead of a flame, there's just a crystalline ball that is made of this same sort of prismatic sort of crystal material that puts off this sort of multicolored light into the space. Much like his skin, in the first time you had kind of a dream where you interacted with Enishtala, the moon also had this sort of appearance to it in that dream that you had. And it casts the whole place in this sort of off-putting kind of light. And you can see Enishtala has walked away from you. He sits inside of the space that you're in. He turns and he sits down on a chair. It's a rather large and luxurious looking chair. and is well appointed. It is upholstered beautifully. It is framed wonderfully. It's got that rich looking wood, like the kind of wood only rich people make things out of. Lining the kind of edges, and the feet are in elaborate sort of taloned claws, and so on and so forth. As you sit there, you look around you in the room, and you don't see a whole lot. You see another cell or two beside you. One of them, the one right next to you, you can see a body laying in it. And you can see very quickly that it's Akerly's body laying in the cell next to you, and she seems to be unconscious, laying nearby. And you can't really see much out. You see that out past the bars fades to darkness relatively quickly in your sight, and seems to just be kind of open, and it's really hard to tell what's out there. But Enishtala seems to be in the cell with you, turns and seats himself in a chair and kind of waits, one leg crossed over the other, his hands laid kind of across his knee, one foot sort of tapping.
I'm going to kind of get to my feet, and I'm going to take a step towards Akerly, and then I'm going to stop. Where am I?
You say that out loud? Sorry. In character. You are in a predicament of your own making. I offered you power. You were reluctant to accept it. And I have had to do by force what I would have done by invitation in better circumstances.
I never wanted power. Where are my friends?
He looks genuinely confused as you say that. He kind of glances to the side as you say, "Where are my friends?" Kind of waves condescendingly in the direction of Akerly. There's one of them now. The ones that matter, I've taken and put to use where they're needed. Friends. They've done you a whole lot of good here, haven't they? I imagine you wanted to have a team, right? Some sort of group among which you have power together, and together one thread. Not being strong, you put many together and make a rope, right? Harder to break a bundle of twigs together than one twig alone, am I right? What if you were an iron bar yourself? A bar of adamantine, let's say. Free from the tether of others, the will of others, the needs of others. And able to smite whomever you will, and be smitten with no consequence. This, he looks at you, kind of leers closer. I still offer.
What makes you think that I want it?
And gets that quizzical look. You've lived in this world. You've seen the kind of world it is. How could you not have? You, with so much of age, of wisdom, proof of it right there, in your hair, in your beard. Your grey betrays you. It is impossible for any of your age to have gotten to this point in your life without seeing the cruelty, the arbitrary nature of the people around you. The only answer is power.
What is it exactly that you want with me?
I, very soon, will take my rightful place once more in the world. I would like to spread a little of that glory around. The world is a large place. I may wish for power, and I may look forward to using it. I look forward to what I will be able to accomplish and achieve. But I do not need the whole of the world. I would prefer that those corners of the world that I'm not interested in be occupied and commanded and ruled over by those that I know, those that I trust.
sounds to me like you just don't have enough power to do it yourself.
Gosh, I kind of want to do a roll on that. It's not really a persuasion roll. There's not an insult roll. There kind of should be, right? Do an intimidation roll for me.
Okay.
We're gonna call it an insult roll, but we'll use the intimidation statistic.
Okay.
Roll for insult.
I got a 17.
You see him kind of flinch, kind of pull back. Well, we all end up at times in situations where we need to call on others for a time. That's the point. The same thing I offer you. Independence, freedom, and power. I plan on taking for myself soon. Yes, I've had to call on the aid of a few willing, menial, small things to help me accomplish this. But that is only because I have fallen to very great and powerful foes. There are few of them left. Soon I will be the power, the only power that matters. Kind of leans forward again. Tell me. There must be a part of you that knows what you could do with such power. The good that you could accomplish for those you care about without having to include them in the process. Just bless them with your bounty.
I admit that yes, I have seen my fair share of the bad in the world, and yeah, sometimes it would be nice. But I'm not sure I'm interested in the kind of power that you're offering.
I much prefer to work with those who are willing. But if not, we'll do what we must. That is what we with power do. So once again, Pim of Gallo, I bind you. You feel a push of energy and force lash out against you again. And I'm going to have you make a wisdom saving throw again. I'm going to let you do it with advantage because of the blessing of the Thorn Mother, which still is with you. And tell me what you get.
Oh, I got a natural 20 on my second roll.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. What a time to get a natural 20. Awesome. He pushes and you feel it like a spike. It's crawling in through this tiny little handprint of a tiny little innocent little creature. And it's working its way up through the veins in your neck, up to the spinal column, up through the brain stem and into your mind. You can feel it reaching in and seeking to latch onto and control the centers of your mind that control you. And you grin, you grit your teeth. You do fall to your knees in the process of this. Regardless of the natural 20, you will for sure take... Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't even say this. Just make a note of this, because we haven't worked things out. Make a note that you will take... of course. 4 points of psychic damage. But
Does that mean she got all her hit points back after she woke up?
Yeah, I'm going to deal with that here in a second. but you can feel yourself pushing and pushing, and it's like tearing to get it to retreat, to push back. But you do. You push. You draw on whatever internal power you have. I think you find probably running through your minds the tenets of the monks that raised you, especially the voice of your father, Wesson, pushing through your mind. You remember being connected. You do. I think in the moment that he's pushing on you, all of the worst things that you've seen, that you've experienced, rush into your mind. You see the scene of your father dying at the hands of the Essakin again. You see what was done to you. Remember what was done to you by Annika, those who were in power on the island. You remember fleeing Charybdis and befriending a group of men on the coast of Lake Gyrian, hanging out with them, and you remember the day that you woke up and overheard them plotting to kill you and take what was yours. You remember laying them low and moving on. You remember hiding out in the Hobbit conclave, the one halfling conclave that's left around Lake Gyrian. You remember fighting against the kind of underbelly elements in that place, vigilante style. You remember all these things that you went through, the time that you spent as a hermit on a little island because you were so frustrated. But then the face of the people you know and love and care about begin to kind of work their way in almost a backwards fashion. You see first all of the faces of your current companions, who in 6 or 7 days, I think we've decided, right? You have felt such a deep and ridiculous connection to, as an old man among young and bright things, and how strong and vibrant that feels to you. You see all of the smiles of the people, the jokes, the winks, all of the interest in the romances and things potentially happening around, all of this stuff. You go backwards, you see the face of a young halfling woman that you had feelings for. That melts into your heart and into your mind. You go back beyond that to the Isle of Charybdis, and your father's face is the last face that you see. And with a flicker, you hear his voice telling you to be strong, not of just body, but of mind. And you push. And this influence, although it is painful, shatters and falls away. You hear a hiss and an intake of breath as you look up, just dripping sweat, and look at Enishtala, who looks down at you with a grimace on his face, and he snarls at you. You watch again the green sort of scales kind of moving up, his face elongating, his teeth lengthening, as he gets right up in your face again. You are a fool, Pimaverli Gallo. You should have taken the power that I offered. Now you will die. I don't need you. I no longer even need what you have. Little magic item that you carry. Somehow your friends kept it from me. It is of no consequence. I've found another way. It's your loss. And he kind of waves a hand, and the torch, the crystalline torch beside you, shatters. And the whole reality of the moment just goes away. You fall back into blackness. Wicket.
Yep.
You blink your eyes open, and you are looking up at a stone ceiling, stone-carved ceiling. Very rough and tumble sort of situation. Not even. Once again, it has been kind of carved out. You recognize the detail of how this was formed, this kind of space was excavated. Give me a roll. Let's do just give me a perception check, but do it with advantage. You are underground.
Perception?
Yeah.
18.
you you notice a couple of things here as you look up. All you've done is seen the ceiling, but you grew up in places like this, and you immediately get the sense that you are underground, and you are in a sort of underground place that has been prepared for people who live there, if that makes sense. But around the edges, there have been additions and sort of things. You can see where the excavation has been kind of pushed backwards. And you can see that the places where it's been expanded on and adjusted and added to, you specifically see the signature of the types of tools that made you puke outside of the chancel of passage. If you recall those kind of little kind of clubs with little bits of emerald crystal on them that just kind of decayed away the tunnels that they were building there, that seemed to eat away the stone, whatever influence they had. That has happened in places here as well, and you can see that. But the bulk of what you see here, shockingly enough, is very reminiscent of your home, in particular of the burrow that you grew up in before you kind of went out into the deep gnome, the conclave where your rock gnome tribe kind of calls their center. If that makes sense. And you went out from there inevitably into other burrows to do other things, but you recognize the work of gnomes, in particular of rock gnomes, in the construction here. The way that it's tunneled, there have been supports added, but there have been almost pillars carved in and set up. You turn to the side a little bit, you can see metallic structures like struts and girders that have been placed up to sort of hold everything in place, and all done in a very sturdy and very familiar way. You begin to kind of move. You're really groggy at first. I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and just do whatever you need to do for a long rest. You've got all your hit points back. As you're laying here, you feel wood beneath your back, and you begin to kind of move around, and you look to pull your hand towards you to kind of scratch an itch on your face, and you can feel that your hand is restrained. You pull the other one, and you can feel that the other hand is restrained as well, and you begin to look around you and realize that you have been strapped to a table of some kind. Something very, in some ways, reminiscent of, like in The Princess Bride, the Pit of Despair. He's like on that thing that's hooked up to weird stuff. It's sort of a torture-esque almost feeling thing that you're kind of strapped out to. But it's large and it's wide and it's made of metal fittings, but also a lot of wood kind of built into it. And you're connected to it and sort of shackled down as you turn your hand or your head to your right. Is it your right? Is your wand hand your right hand? I keep forgetting that.
It is my... I have to read my description real quick. Yeah.
Your right hand?
Mm-hmm.
You turn towards the right hand, and it has been almost bolted down with an iron sort of cuff down to the wood of the table. And you can see your hand there. First thing that you notice makes you horribly uncomfortable is that the cute little glove that you wear with the little fingers missing off of it has been stripped off of your hand. And you can see that the fingers of each of your hand have had almost electrode-like things attached to them, kind of metallic sort of tips with coiled sort of copper wire drawn up and running away and off behind you. And you can see that the wire right now is channeling this sort of milky green light. And you can see as you look down, you see the symbol on your hand. You see the symbol that you've always known was there from a relatively young age. the symbol of, in the shape of an S with 2 dots around it, that you came to know at a specific time in your upbringing was not a good thing. It's the sign of a sorcerer. You feel like your tummy flip a little bit as you see it. It makes you nauseous to see it in the open like this. And you begin to kind of hear all the voices telling you to hide it, keep it away, put it away, put it away, put it away. They'll come for you, put it away. And you can see now that it's lit with that same sort of color. The cuff of energy around your wrist is present, and the energy is being drawn into these sort of electrodes and is running off along the coiled copper wires that it's connected to. You turn away from it almost instinctively. You see your other hand, and as you look at your other hand, which is locked down in similar fashion, you look across, and next to you, you see Bitsy strapped down on the table beside you in the same exact manner. And you can see the hand that she had described to you. I'm pretty sure you told people, Bitsy, about the symbol, even though they couldn't really see it now, but that you see it. Did you fill them in on all of that you see it out of the corner of your eye?
I don't think I saw a symbol. I know that my hand, like from peripheral, is like withered. Like
yeah.
dead.
Oh, that's right. The symbol is there even when you look at it. The symbol that was on the chalice is on your hand now. It's there. It looks like, and it's not like burned there or tattooed there or scarred there. It's in the pigmentation of your skin. It has appeared somehow like a birthmark almost. And the witheredness of it is what you see out of the peripheral, but you have the symbol there. Did you filled everybody else in on the fact that the symbol was there? I don't remember if that came up, but I think the group knew about it.
Yeah. I don't think Bitsy would have. I don't think I would have withheld that.
On the same, also your right hand, I think, is this the symbol of House Melanet, the symbol of the tree with some of the things around it. You can see Bitsy there, strapped down, same sort of diode, sort of electrode, sort of wires connected to her hand, and you can see that power is being drawn in lavender sort of colored energy is being drawn out of her symbol as well and into wires and being drawn away. And you can see now around her hand, around her wrist, where you have the cuff that is shattered, you can see around her hand there's small, what look like small tiny little stars that are just circling kind of around and twinkling kind of silver and purple as her energy is being drawn out away from her hand. She looks to be unconscious as you come into consciousness, and you find that you're in a space that is wide and large and open, and you begin to pay more attention to sort of noises around you. You hear the sound of yipping and sort of gibbering voices of Talaru, many more than you've heard before. You also hear clinking and kind of dinging noises, mining and metalwork and a variety of other things. And as you turn in the direction of the kind of largest of the cacophony of noises, in the direction that these wires are running to, you turn and kind of crane your neck as far over as you can. You see that there's an odd structure kind of behind you, up against the wall. The best way to explain it is it looks like a massive gate, a stone and metal archway that has been built into the wall. It is huge. It is 50 feet tall. It's 20, 30 feet wide. And there are symbols and runes inscribed all through the edges of it, metal plates that have been riveted onto the stonework of this arch that have symbols on them. And at the top are 3 symbols. At the very top is the symbol that you've seen on Bitsy's hand. And next to it, on the other 2 sides, are the symbol that's on your hand that you know has always been there, and you've suspected now is connected in some way to the Kuamel that you've now been bumping into so many times. And then on the other side is a different symbol that resembles kind of the ripple of water, a 3rd symbol. These 3 symbols you can see have wires running up to them. the wires from your hand running to the same symbol that's on your hand. The wires from Bitsy's hand running to the symbol at the top. You see another set of wires running down across onto the other side of the table, other side of the gate. And you see a third table set there. And you see a small gnomish form strapped down to the table. And this gnomish form is very old looking. An old female gnome has been strapped there. And you can see the same sort of electrode on one of the arms. And the symbol glows in bluish white light from the hand of this one as well, and runs up to the symbol on the archway. In the middle of the archway, between the frame, is just energy. There's this rippling kind of field of multicolored sort of energy here. Different than the prismatic stuff I've been describing. There's more richness to it, more color to it. There's more gold in it than white or silver in it, but there are many colors involved. But it's against sort of a backdrop of kind of golden colored light. And it ripples and runs up. And you can see that the energy going into the symbols is kind of filtering down in places and causing the surface of this to just kind of ripple down and ripple up and ripple down and ripple up. And as you notice all of this, you sense movement and you turn and you can see Lev, the creature that you fought, that used to be Cole's brother, Lev, but is now something else. The sort of hybrid, mutant almost form, somewhere between human and draconic. You can see him standing there, kind of barking orders at small Talaru who are around it, and they're kind of excavating and carving and pushing things back and building some frames and some things. And you can see they've actually pulled in what appear to be weapons, siege weapons almost, things for hurling and throwing and battering, and a variety of other things have been pulled up towards this gate and are somehow being prepared. You see the Lev, this creature, look up suddenly at the top and then follow the line of the wire down towards your hand, and then smile that really creepy half human, half draconic smile at you. He turns and he walks towards you in your direction. I see that you're awake. Good. This will make the transfer much faster. He kind of sidles up to you on the table, kind of leers down. How does it feel? Roll me another perception check at this point. I suppose you can make this at advantage as well. Your senses are in high alert right now.
Uh, 15.
As he leers and kind of leans down over you, you get a better look at his face. You can see at the center of his forehead, you see the same symbol that's on your hand. And it's been branded sort of into the center of his forehead with the dots around it. And he kind of leers at you past this. You feel the power? The power that you've been denying for so long?
Just gonna look at him and look at the gate and say, "What are you doing?"
We're taking advantage of a serendipitous event. We thought we'd never break through the gate. But now you're here. And not only you, but your friend. 2 of the old rulers of Endelwyn. We had one for a while. Never thought that we'd get the other 2. And then you came waltzing into the neighborhood. Together. What are the chances? It's almost like destiny.
I think you've got us mixed up with some other little gnomes. we're not rulers of anybody or anything. We're just regular gnomes, and I definitely don't rule anything. Maybe Bitsy ruled something. I don't think she did. I think she's just as regular as I am, actually. So you could just let us go, and we can waltz on back out the way we came, or the way you took us.
Do all gnomes talk as much as you do?
I mean, I talk a lot, and generally gnomes like to chat. I think I'm more on the talkative side than regular gnomes. I talk a lot more when I'm nervous and scared, and I feel really scared right now because you're kind of creepy and you're making me very uncomfortable. And you're kind of like I'm strapped down and I can't move, and I don't like that either. I usually like having my hands to fiddle with when I'm nervous, and I don't have my hands to fiddle with, so I guess.
Shut up.
Okay.
Would do you well to work on your bearing. Your royalty, he says it with a sneer. Whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, it's in your bones. It's in your flesh, it's in your blood. You were created this way. A long line of magically infused royalty, all the way back to the beginning. To the mortal molds themselves. We thought you were dead. We've been trying to find other means to break through the gate. We thought the line of the Kuamel had fizzled out years, decades, centuries ago. The downfall of its leader, the exile of its people. We thought all the Melinettes were inside whatever was left of them. And here we find one traipsing around outside. With your help, the power that flows through you, and your friend, and this little priestess over here. He points at the other table. We will finally break through to Endelwin. We'll take what's there. We'll use it as we wish.
Endelwin? You think that gate's gonna take you to Endelwin?
It will.
Right. So I don't know if you know this, but well, generally speaking, you can't go to places that aren't here or aren't really around anymore. And I know you think maybe this like magic inside us can like help you get there. But we've never even been there. And I don't see how we could get you somewhere we've never been. And I don't see how I could be royalty from those people who were trapped inside a place either. So I really think you might have some things mixed up here. But if you let me go and you let Bitsy go.
Oh, the talking, it never ends. I know. Not on my own. Here, I'll show you. He reaches down, he grabs the table with two yucky arms. As he reaches down, you can see he was wearing gloves when he fought you before. He had one hand that was kind of draconic and taloned, and one that appeared to be human inside of a glove, but that glove is gone. You can see where this one is taloned. This one is made up of a cluster of snakes, and the tips of each finger are just the head of small snakes, and he reaches down and he grasps the table, and he shifts it. And he turns it around, not taking you any farther from the gate, but spinning you in another direction. And he lifts it up just enough. And you get a sense that he's pretty strong. He lifts it up. Look. And you see down from where the gate is, the gate sits up. You can see now that there is a ramp carved into the stone with steps in places and landings and platforms in places rising up to this space before the gate. And then it sort of drops off. There's a balustrade built of stone and metal, and then it drops off to the side into an open space below. You see from what you can see now, I guess the first thing you would notice, you see what appears to be a skeleton. You know the floor is far away, and yet the skeleton still appears massive to you. And you can see that it is a skeleton laid out in the shape of what can only be a dragon. It is curled. You see the rib cage bones, the bones of the arms, the bones of the legs. You see wings and all the bones in the wings. You actually see tattered remnants of wing with holes all through it. And the bones are all made of a very deep emerald stone, emerald green stone. And up the spine of this thing to the top of the long neck, you see sitting at the top where a skull would be, you see teeth laid out around. But where a skull would be, you see nothing but, you see a brain, a large brain. The brain is made in what appears to be completely made of crystal, prismatic, chromatic colored crystal, bright white with multicolored sort of split rainbow sort of colors flickering through it. And around and between the wings and the legs, you see dozens at least of small Talaru forms, all bowing and praying in the direction and around, all facing in the direction of this brain, which is flickering dramatically with this kind of multicolored energy. We know what's on the other side of this gate. We know how it works. Because we have someone who was here from the very beginning.
So what? Is it treasure? Treasure you want? We've got lots of treasure on this side of the gate. I could hook you up. I know some people.
Treasure? No. We've got plenty of treasure. Actually, turns you. You see off to one side of the skeleton in a place that had been carved out with this sort of decay kind of powered tools. A side cavern. And you only see the front of it, the mouth of it, but it is just spilling out of it heaps and piles of gold and gems and glittering things. Enishtala has all the treasure he could want. We look for power. Power is what waits for us in Endel. Power in Endelwyn itself, and the power that waits beyond gates that lie in Endelwyn itself. Power that goes all the way back to the creation of everything.
Why do you want power? It's really not that great. It just brings trouble, is really what it brings. Didn't people ask you to do things and become heroes, and then even if you're not a hero, you just hurt people? It's really not a great thing. People shouldn't have power if you want to live happy lives.
He drops the table as you're talking and kind of scoots it back around again. And it's a shame to see how far royalty in Endelwyn has fallen. It doesn't matter. We just need your power. I don't need you.
Why can't you use something else? I'm sure there are plenty of other magical people who you could ask to help you, and maybe would even get on your side and want to go with you and would do it willingly.
We need a very particular brand of power. And honey, you're the only one. You and your friend. Another voice kind of cuts in. Leave her alone, Lev. You can turn and you can see that the head of the old gnomish woman is kind of turned in your direction and looks at you. We're all gonna die anyway. Don't let us die with your incessant chatter in our heads. kind of smiles and hisses at her. He looks back at you. Your friend over here, she's not interested in power either. I really don't know what's wrong with you. But we'll take what we need. I'm done with you. He kind of turns and...
Wait!
He stops.
It's Lev, right? Are you still Lev?
I am Utralek, Levora. Lev was a peon. I am a prince.
What happened to him? Where'd he go?
He's still here. Just been elevated.
Lev, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you could please just break out of his control.
He spins and he just kind of walks away and starts barking at Talaru again, who are kind of pulling up these sort of constructs and things that they're sort of pulling up and around. He leaves you alone.
I'm gonna turn to look at the another lady. Hi, I'm Wicket. Waywalker, Waywalker, Urkel, Carlin, Kirby, Elliewick, Tumbleduck, Timbers. But you can call me Wicket for short. What's your name?
Hold on 1 second. There we go. It's very nice to meet you, Wicket. I like your names. I haven't as many as you, but us river gnomes didn't often take as many names as the rock gnomes did. You always had a way of accumulating things, hoarding names, the same way you hoarded the things you found and the things you built. My name is Errol. Errol Byanthing Dolome. But generally I go by Tumble.
Tumble? It's nice to meet you, Tumble.
You as well. I see that you've been cursed with royal blood as well as I have.
First time hearing of it.
It's heartening to know that the line of Kuamel has continued. I thought that it was gone. Or that the first Kuamel that I would have met would have lived up to the horror stories, the tall tales that I had always been told. You guys don't have much of a reputation.
Yeah, so I've... This is my friend Bitsy. Bitsy, wake up! Bitsy!
Bitsy, right about now, as Wicket starts kind of really just like shaking the table and kind of trying to reach out and kind of bump your table, we'll say that you kind of blink and suddenly start to kind of come into consciousness. Full hit points.
Long rest.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, what's going on? One sec. Let me give bearings. Wakefulness. Oh my gosh, I am strapped down. Why? And she's gonna start flailing her arms.
Calm down.
I won't even make you roll. Their restraints are too strong for your normal gnomishness.
Wicket? Can I see Wicket?
You turn your head to the right, and you can see her to the right of you, and beyond her, the form of Tumble, kind of blearily.
Oh no, Wicket, you're strapped down too. Oh my gosh.
Okay, try not to panic.
No.
I know
I'm not panicking. Are you panicking? Because I'm not
a little bit panicking, but try not to.
Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? Oh my gosh. This is the end. This is the end.
Okay.
No, okay. okay, so how are you? Are we good? And while I'm like talking, I'm like looking at my restraints and like trying to like maneuver my fingers to like try to slip out. I'm like, it's been you know how long it's been? And she's just gonna keep trying to like wriggle it out.
Sounds good.
Lev was here a minute ago, and he's pretty freaky. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's this freaky gate behind us that we're apparently opening, and he's trying to like, and he's gonna kill us.
She's gonna like try to like move her head backwards. Oh, I think I see a little top of oh, that's big. That's a big archway. Who's that over there?
That's Tumble. She's our new friend.
Hi, Tumble.
We're apparently
Hello.
like fancy people. And she's fancy too.
Fancy people? I'm not very fancy.
Royalty, he says from across the way.
Oh, well, I kind of guessed that, though I'm not feeling very royal right now, and I'm like gonna gesture at the shackles. But
Technically, you're the most royal one here.
oh gosh, thanks. Anyways, so that seems a little unimportant right now. I'm gonna look at Wicket and be like, royalty. Are you royalty?
Well, I didn't think so. This guy thinks I am, which I'm probably not. Definitely not. Because then if I was royalty, I'd have to be related to some pretty not cool people.
Wicket, usually you're very clear, but right now I'm very confused.
He says I'm royalty because I'm come from the line of Coolmel, but I don't want to be from the line of Coolmel. They seem really like terrible gnomes. And I'm not a terrible gnome, I'm a nice gnome. I've always thought I was a pretty stand-up gnome myself, but...
You are a stand-up gnome. You're a very, very great gnome. One of the only gnomes I've ever met that I liked, you know? So I think we should just focus on getting out of here, and we can
I hope to change your mind.
Oh, I already like you, Tumble. You're the second gnome I've met that I haven't not liked. Well, haven't had a hard time. Like, anyways, that's another tangent. Man, I just need to focus. This seems like a great time that we should be focusing. Okay.
Tumble, you said we're gonna die.
What?
She did. I heard her say it.
Tumble, why would you say something like that? We've only been friends for 30 seconds, but I feel like it's pretty obvious. I'm a very fragile personality. I can't take death. I can't take talk of death. I can't really handle that at all. So if we could just step away from that topic for the time being and focus on living and life and all of that is grand about breathing and open our eyes to see another day.
What does your destiny say?
I don't know what to tell you. You're fragile.
If it's not positive, don't say it, Tumble.
You're fragile in mind, but I'm fragile in body. And with these things strapped to our hands, there's no way to pull our magic to our aid.
No magic? Okay, well that goes there goes my plan. Oh well.
Your destiny magic.
So unless you're able to pull an escape trick, or you have a friend hiding somewhere.
Oh, Caspian? Oh wait, no, he was upstairs. I hope he's okay. I think.
Roll me an intelligence check. Just D20 plus intelligence.
D20. Gonna be
roll with the
19.
Oh,
19.
Yeah. I mean that's.
Oh wait, let me roll again. Yeah.
It comes flooding back to you.
Right.
Your memory. You suddenly kind of go back in your memory. You think about Caspian, you're like, oh, whatever, and then you start going through what the last time you saw Caspian, what the situation was, where Caspian was in relationship to you, and in relationship to Lev, and in relationship to the cloud of killing fog that landed around all of you. Um, I think you remember it clearly enough that it sinks in what most likely possibly happened.
Oh. Ah. Bitsy's gonna go dead still.
Bitsy, are you okay? Bitsy, you didn't die already, did you? I can't be alone. I don't know how to get out of here. I don't know what to do. Bitsy.
I'm okay. Uh, uh, where's Agerly and Pim and Asriel? Uh,
Bitsy, are you okay?
we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here, Wicket. So we're smart.
We're smart. Okay.
So we can't use our magic. I'm gonna close my eyes and open them and see if I can see my destiny.
Okay. You focus your energy, sort of your intensity, the way that you've sort of learned to sort of pay attention to it before. And the same sort of odd thing happens that happened in the tomb. Suddenly, amber-colored light starts to appear and flicker. At first, it lands around the gate into Endolwyn, and then it flickers away. It lands around the form of Lev you can see off to your side, flickers away, and then it lands on Tumble, and then it just starts highlighting random sort of patches of stone and patches of work and so on and so forth, and just starts to hurt in your head, and eventually sort of flickers away.
Destiny's not being super helpful right now. She might just be having a very bad day. So it's gonna be us. So,
Okay. Well, I'm going. Can I like investigate to see if there's any like mechanical weaknesses or anything with any of the tables we're strapped to, or like investigate what I can see to see if there's.
Let's do this. I'll let you do an investigation check. It's going to have to be at disadvantage. Normally, investigation would be you getting up with your hands and kind of really kind of analyzing, and you are in a compromised position with limited motility. So investigation check with disadvantage. Not bad. You look around. It is a bit disconcerting, because what you see when you look around is that what has been built here has been built well. The things that have been built and put together, the way they're fastened, they've been kept up. There's not like rust or rot or decay anywhere that you can see in any of the metal or the wooden fastenings. The best that you can see is that as you kind of stretch and look and try and get your head out and around, you look down at the table thing that you're on. You can see that there are actually wheels on the legs of these tables. So they're things that are meant to be moved around, but that they seem to have had like stones or like little blocks kind of put underneath the edges of them to keep you from kind of rolling anywhere in particular. And outside of that, it's disconcerting. They seem to be built to gnomish levels of prowess, and even things that seem to have been built by the Talaro. You're starting to get a real good idea that the Talaro are actually relatively expert both at tunneling and building things related to what they focus their energies on. So it's very trying not to get hopeless here. I think Tumble's voice probably comes to you. I've spent hours looking. I don't know that there's a way. And this is where we're going to leave you for a minute.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
As the camera pans up
Whoa.
through the air and through the bars of yet another cage. And settle down above the form of Akerly sprawled out on the floor of a cage. And Akerly, your eyes blink open and you come to consciousness. And you look around. To save time describing, you see pretty much the same thing that Pim saw, minus the weird prismatic, colorful chromatic light. The light here is actually much more natural. You can see the light of fires, torches, flickering kind of torch and lantern light kind of filtering in through the bars into the space around you, the cool kind of blackened stone. You actually see in the stone as you look, though, that there are veins of deep red running through them. It's a very unique and interesting sort of look as it runs through the layers of black and then red stone. And as you lift your head up and you look around, you can see that it's stone behind you, stone beneath you. It is iron bars opposite you, and then iron walls beside you. There's one more cage to your left and one more cage to your right. And you look to the right and you do see a small halfling form of Pim stirring kind of in the cage next to you. What do you do?
I call out for Pim. Pim! Pim, are you awake? Are you okay?
Pim, you've come to consciousness for what feels like the second time in a short amount of time. This time it's real. You're muted.
Akerly, is it you?
It's me. Yes. Are you all right?
Yeah, Are you all right?
I think so. Do I have all my hit points back now after
Yes.
my long rest? As well as my spell slots?
Technically, you have your spell slots.
Okay.
Give me a perception check.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, perception check. $18.
As you kind of pat yourself down, kind of checking, you'll notice right off the bat you have no weapons on you. Any gear that you had was taken away, and your gambeson is missing.
They didn't.
You also notice you feel a clanking, a heavy sort of clanking, and as you look down, you can see that there is an iron band that has been strapped on around one hand, and it has sort of silvery kind of runic script kind of etched into it that seems to be just thrumming ever so slightly with light and energy.
Those losers. Okay. I actually probably say that out loud. Those losers. Okay. Language. I can't cast any spells without my gambeson, can I?
You technically probably could. You can't switch spells. You can't learn new spells.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily, I don't think you need it to cast spells. I think if it was destroyed or damaged, the spells would go away. Probably, possibly. I'm just going to say, I don't know in D&D terms, but in my world, if you get too far from it, you're going to start struggling to cast spells. So it kind of depends on if it's still safe and if it's not too far away.
I guess first off I check if there's like a lock and what kind of lock it is on the bars.
Okay. Go ahead and do an investigation check for me as you kind of look around the cage and check the bars.
14, 15, 18.
Okay. Two things you notice as you investigate around the cage that you're in, as Pim is kind of trying to think past the massive headache that he has. You do notice you check the cage, and there is a door on the front of the cage. It's a door that sort of slides open to the side, and it's slid shut. And where it's shut, there is a heavy-duty sort of latch system that has a ring coming out, and there is a chain running through that ring, and the chain has a massive sort of padlock attached to it that is holding it shut as well. And with an 18, as you investigate it, you get the sense that it is an exceedingly well-made system. Very heavy duty, very well put together, and in very good condition. Second thing that you notice as you then turn your attention to the rest of the cage, the bars, you see that kind of tossed into one corner, you see a few things. You see a pile of cloth and a hint of a sort of shimmer of reflection of light off of something sort of shiny. As you draw closer, you pick up what's there. I think immediately, probably, you recognize the stole of Oathtaker Losant. The sort of scarf that he wore around that had the two symbols of his office and the Bower King on them. And kind of, as you pull that up, there's a ting-ting kind of tinkle and a drop. And you can see a little piece of jewelry falls out. And you pick it up and you can see the 8-sided sort of little sort of diadem, almost a little thin sliver of cerebrium on a bit of a chain. And you remember it as being the thing he wore around his head that sat kind of right here at the center. And he used it to communicate every time he did magic, it would flare, Levin's eye would light up, and then they would do their thing together, kind of puppet style. So you recognize that this is the sort of diadem of the Oathtaker and his stole here in the corner.
I pick it up in my hand, and sort of shocked, I turn to Pim and I say, I think Oathtaker Losant was here.
I'm just gonna stand there for a second. I have a very bad feeling. We need to get out of here.
You seen Bitsy or Wicket?
I will say with the perception check, I didn't even think about what you hear.
Oh.
And also what you see when you walk up to the bars. That's my bad. You hear the sound of many, 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 many little voices of the same clinking and the sort of hammering and things. And as you come to the cage, checking the locks and stuff, you look out and you can see that you are in a series of cages that are carved into the wall high up in a cavern. And it drops out below you. And you can see below you see the same thing that Wicket saw a moment ago. You see the skeleton of a large emerald dragon with a crystalline sort of mind, a crystalline brain sitting at the head, the tip of the neck. You see the forms of many Talaro kneeling and sort of bowing, dozens and dozens of them. And you can't help but notice across the room from where you are, a large, shimmering gate. And little threads of sort of of light kind of weaving up towards the top of the gate. And you see figures at the tip of that as well. Come here. You would have seen all that as well.
Okay. And obviously Bitsy and Wicket aren't there. So you're saying that
you see where they are. I just think they're far enough away that you'd have to roll the crazy good perception check to see the tiny forms of the gnomes. It's relatively far across the room to where they are. The ramp, you see the ramp that leads up to the kind of landing where a gate is kind of structured into the side of the wall of the cavern, and the shimmering field of energy between it with the little threads of light coming down to the figures on the tables. But I feel like it's probably maybe far enough away that it might be a bit of a struggle to see.
So it's across the cavern.
Right.
And there's a ditch basically in between us two.
There's just a giant cave between you.
I think my first instinct, I probably not going to work, but my first instinct is going to try and cast magic missile.
Okay.
At the door.
At who?
At the door.
Okay. So you raise your hand, you go through the motions, and prepare to cast the spell, and you immediately drop to your knees. Crippling pain lances out at your wrist and shoots up your arm as the cuff that you're wearing flares with light, and you drop to your knees, unable to cast magic and suffering pain because of it. Enough to take... I've rolled 2 6s on this. Let's see. 6 points of 6 points of, I would say, yeah, arcane damage. It would be psychic damage.
Great. Okay, glad we learned that lesson.
And also, Pim, make sure you take away the 4, I think, that you took.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. From your full hit points. You have full hit points and everything as well.
Yeah.
I hiss and grumble at the pain, turn to Pim and tell him that I can't cast magic. So we're gonna have to get out old-fashioned way.
Pim's gonna kind of look around too. I'm assuming all of my stuff has also been taken.
Yep, your spear is gone, your sling is gone, you're left in just your clothing. Nothing
What about my necklace, Dad?
Nothing else has been done to you. Sorry, say again?
Is my necklace gone?
Remind me of the necklace?
With my horse in it?
No.
No.
I think it just seems like jewelry. I don't think that they were too worried about it.
I can't cast magic, so unless I somehow get this... And I can't probably cast a cantrip either. I don't want to try that. Gosh. With options then, I guess I place the thing over my head as Oathtaker Lowson did.
Okay. You slide it over your head and into place. You feel as the cool sort of cerebrium, metallic cerebrium touches the side of your head. And you focus, just a hint of will at it. Waiting, cringing, just in case something triggers this bracelet again. And nothing seems to happen. You do immediately hear a voice in your head. Akerly.
I jump back. Who was that? Who's here?
I'm sorry. I do not have much time. I am glad that you are here. You recognize the voice of both Taker Losent.
Where are you? Are you here? Are you okay?
I am here, close enough to you that it only takes a thread of power to reach you. But I am compromised.
What do you mean you're compromised? Are you hurt?
You feel a bit of a flare again. Come to the gate. Move to the bars.
I move to the bars hurriedly.
Look down. Down to the mind of the monster.
I do it. I look down.
And as you peer down through the room, you see the Talaru, you see all of these things happen. You see a hustle and bustle of movement, in particular to one side of this large crystal brain of the dragon. And you can see there that a figure has been kind of splayed out on a bit of a stone sort of table. And you can see the figure of Losent stripped down to just bare minimum clothing. His robe gone, his hands kind of freed and pulled out to the side, strapped down with many sort of iron manacle things. You see ribbons of light where all the iron manacles are, many, many of them, one around his neck and several around his arms. Do you see me?
Yes, but it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna get out and
Equally, we have no time. I am to be sacrificed very soon. We have no time. I can't stop it. The icon has realized that he can draw from me enough power to break his bonds and return him to this world. But you are here. I cannot stop this from happening, but I might be able to help you become what you need to have a chance.
don't strain yourself. I'll figure it out.
Equally, we have no time. At this moment, you hear a voice shout through the room. Brothers and sisters, the time has come. The time for which we all have been eagerly waiting and working. Time for the rise of Icon Enishtala. And the roar, just a crowd. Cobalt, room, yipping and screaming, screeching. All I need to know is that you are willing to accept what I can give you.
Of course I am. You've given me so much, but I can't lose you too. You're the only one here who knows who I am. Who I really am. So you guys fight, you gotta move.
I will fight in the way that I can. I will create what will destroy Enishtala. Are you willing?
You know I am.
That is enough. And the chanting of rise Enishtala throughout the room, it echoes off of the caverns of the walls. Bitsy and Wicket, remember, you all hear this. You're all in the same sort of space here. As it rises up, you see, you kind of hear Tumble muttering to herself. You see her kind of close her eyes and shake her head a little bit. Next to you, you can hear Lev screaming from his place near the gate. Let Enishtala rise, he says. I believe in you, Ekali. And there is a high screech and a squeal, and you can see some figure, some form. Something falls, something drops, and Lawson's voice cuts off mid-sentence to you. As a burst of power flies out of him. If you remember in his study, the sort of tree-shaped wardrobe that he has, that he keeps his spells and things in. If you remember when it opened up, there was a cerebrium sort of tree framework, and from the branches and twigs hung ribbons of light and energy, and he had encoded his spells mentally onto these things, and that's how he kept those spells. You can see as whatever weapon falls, you see a burst of these sort of ribbons of light rise up out of his chest, out of his mind, and move in a vortex towards the mind of Enishtala. And it flickers with light. And as it does so, a form appears, a flicker, and a spectral sort of form of the head of a massive, gargantuan emerald dragon. It surrounds the brain, which sits in its place, kind of relative to this spectral head. And you see the same spectral sort of body appear around the bones, the emerald bones and the wings and things. And then they begin to move to a wail of worship from everybody around. And there's a laugh and a roar that echoes through the cavern. Pim, you get a front row seat as the diadem on Akerly's forehead explodes. Ribbons of light out from it wrap themselves around her head and run down and drape her form, her body. You see the cuff shatter off of her hand. You see her rise up kind of into the air as her eyes begin to glow. Ribbons kind of come out of her eyes and then wrap around and then come back in again. And her arms rise up and she gasps and she glows with light and energy. And she hangs there for a moment as the kobolds squeal and yell and yip and laugh and cry. And then as she turns and she rotates slowly in the air, suddenly her head kind of drops and her eyes open, and you see light just cascading out of them as she turns and she looks at the cage and she moves in this direction. And that's where we're going to end tonight, guys. It's
do this every time. Every time.
We've got to,
In all
right?
fairness, I warned people in chat.
Why can't we ever have a clean ending, huh?
Cliffhangers are the best. Cliffhangers are
These
the
are the
best.
finale
For
episodes.
you. For you. They're the
Yeah.
best for you. You're being very selfish.
No. All kinds of
I
stuff.
personally find cliffhangers very annoying.
They're terrible. Nobody likes them.
All of what is about to happen shouldn't be started if it can't be finished, I suppose, is kind of where we're at right now. So
Yeah, we're like at the 4.5 hour mark.
yeah.
No, we're
Right.
not.
Yeah, we are.
It's 3.5.
Started at
We're at
6,
the
3.5.
yeah, we wouldn't be able to move in, but anyway, we're gonna try and fit a couple last sessions in this next week, right?
Yep.
And I think we'll be
How
able
is
to.
a Friday for everyone?
I love this. I'm excited. I'm excited. Things coming together and kind of pulling on these threads and getting you all in one place. In this, and again, I say this every time. I'm excited about what you do next. See what you do next. So, in any case, that's where we're going to end. And we are grateful once again to anybody that joined us. We're grateful if you see this, those of you that showed up along with Geeks Codex and that party. We're grateful to you for popping by and taking a peek at things. We really appreciate it. The love, the D&D love in the community, especially from across the pond. It's kind of fun. So in any case, thank you for those that were able to watch here. Anybody that might watch this in the future, we hope that you enjoyed kind of living through this story with us. We look forward to the 2-part finale is how I'm going to be thinking of it. The next 2 episodes here coming up to get us to some end point and see what we have to do. But I think that's going to do it. So I'm going to leave it there with an adieu to you and you and you. And we will catch you all next week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.